By all accounts, this is a great monitor. It's fast, smooth, responsive, has great colours, and isn't overly expensive. So why am I not blown away? Let's run you through it and see if we can work out why, but first, if you haven't already, consider subscribing for more videos like this one every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Let's start with the important bit, the panel. It's a tightly curved 32-inch 1440p 165Hz VA panel, and it's a pretty good one. In terms of response time, as that's normally a lacking factor with VA panels, this one measured in about 5 milliseconds from black to white and about 10 milliseconds from white to black, which is really good for a VA. And the difference there is because going from black to white, it can use its overdrive settings, which I had it on its speed setting, or the fastest it had, and it did a really good job of getting to the right color without too much overshoot. Now, ghosting is a little prevalent here. Taking a look at the usual UFO test, you can see there is a dark trail behind the UFO, but it wasn't overly noticeable when actually playing games, and so your mileage may vary depending on how particular you are about having absolutely no ghosting or don't mind having a little bit. You can also turn on the aim stabilizer in the on-screen menu, which is Gigabyte's way of saying backlight strobing. As you can see, when I enable it, you can see my camera's rolling shutter captures that strobing. But for me personally, I tend to find that backlight strobing can be a little off-putting, and so I personally would leave it off, but again, that's up to you. I should also mention, if you do turn on aim stabilizer, that will disable FreeSync, as you can't have them on at the same time. Input lag wise, my time sleuth connected via HDMI and at its maximum 1080p 60fps setting measured input lag at the top of the display of about 3 milliseconds and about 10 milliseconds at the center, which is about right. It's not the fastest I've seen, but it's also a fair bit away from being the slowest too. And colors wise, this is incredibly impressive. Testing with my Datacolor Spider X and the Datacolor software, it reported coverage well over 100% of the sRGB spectrum, around 85% of the Adobe RGB, and 91% of the DCI-P3 spectrum. That is down from 95% on the Aorus FI27Q-P, the very much high-end version of this, and obviously 27 inches as well, but this is incredibly impressive, especially for the price point it's at. The gaming experience on this was pretty good. Like I said, it's a smooth and responsive experience, thanks to both FreeSync and the fast response time and the high refresh rates. You do get a very nice, very enjoyable gaming experience that I really can't complain too much about. Now, moving on from the panel itself and taking a look at the rest of the monitor, in terms of I/O, we have 2 HDMI ports and 1 DisplayPort, as well as a USB 3 hub, of which you will need to have connected to your PC if you want to make use of their OSD Sidekick software, which is essentially their Windows application that lets you control all of the on-screen menu settings from within Windows instead. Styling-wise, it's certainly a more basic approach. You don't have any RGB here, you don't even have any Aorus logos, as this is a Gigabyte brand monitor instead of Aorus, and it's also pretty basic on the adjustability. You do have a good amount of height adjust and mostly upwards tilt, but there is a bit of a problem with the stand. First of all, the base is absolutely massive. It takes up a huge amount of space on your desk and is topped with relatively cheap feeling plastic. The second problem you might have noticed when I was adjusting the display, and that's any level of motion makes this thing wobble like a tuning fork. Seriously, you push it or you wobble the desk, anything like that, and it carries on wobbling for a good 30 seconds after the initial motion. If you catch this as you stand up, or maybe sit down at your desk and your desk wobbles a bit, this will be wobbling for a full 30 seconds before it finally comes to a stop. And I should also note that when you go to attach the stand to the monitor, there's no quick release mechanism here. There's no teeth that hold it in place. You have to screw it in with 4 separate screws, and those screws have the smallest Phillips head bit size possible on them, which is incredibly strange considering that the actual screws themselves are pretty large, and that means that you will inevitably strip those screws and you won't be able to remove it from the monitor. And I don't understand why that's the case. Those issues mostly come from Gigabyte trying to make this a more budget or cheap and cheerful option compared to their pretty ultra premium monitors like the FI27Q-P, which is a good £200+ more than this one for essentially the same thing. I mean, it's still 1440p, 165Hz and FreeSync, so similar spec sheet, but this one costs £420 instead. But the concessions they've made here, especially in terms of build quality and usability, if you like, is a little strange considering people like AOC can offer the CQ27G2U, which is also a 1440p, 144Hz FreeSync display. That one is 27 inches, and that one costs just £280 when in stock, so a significant amount less than this one. Overall, I think Gigabyte could have definitely squeezed a little bit more build quality and user friendliness into this sort of price point, especially considering their competitors can offer much better build quality, adjustability, that kind of thing, for a lot less money, admittedly with slightly worse panels, but that doesn't really count for the cost difference. I don't think that you would be disappointed if you bought one of these. It's certainly an amazing panel, especially for its price, and this is one of the best VA panels that I've checked out in recent years, so definitely big thumbs up there. I just think you might also want to have a monitor arm or stand if you're buying this too. I think if it was around £50 cheaper, I would be a lot more excited about this, but as it stands, it's a good monitor, it gets a good recommendation from me, but it hasn't quite blown me away. Now with that said, those are my thoughts, and I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. What do you think of the G32QC? Is this something you'd pick up yourself, or would you go for their more expensive FI range or something cheaper instead? Do let me know in those comments below. I will still leave a link to this in the description down below if you want to check it out. That'll be an Amazon affiliate link that will take you to your local Amazon store where you can see pricing when and where you watch this, because it can and does vary. There's also going to be a load of other links in the description you can check out, including affiliate links for people like Overclockers UK if you're buying from them. There's VPN options, Streamlabs OBS, and Humble Bundle, just a load of other stuff too. There's also merch hoodies or t-shirts like this one. There's Patreon if you want to get cool rewards like ad-free videos and support me directly, and just a load of other stuff you can check out. I will also leave the AOC monitor review on the end cards, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments down below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Otherwise, that is pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you all in the next one.